Yep.
All right. Well, first off, how long have you been living in Ashland?
We moved here in 1970
Right.
when I joined the faculty of the college. We decided to live in town. So
Where'd you live before that?
we were in Chapel Hill,
Oh, okay.
finishing my work, and Sue was teaching there in Durham County.
Okay.
So we came up in 1970. We've been here ever since.
Do you like it?
Love it.
Love it? A lot better than the last days?
No, it's not.
That's not a fair question.
It's a different kind of experience.
When you
I was
live
a
in-
student in one, and then I was an adult in the others.
Right.
But we have a choice to live in Richmond or in the Richmond area or living out in Ashland, and we're really glad we chose, how many years ago, 1970, to live here.
So what was your deciding factor to move here instead of Richmond?
Probably me. I wanted to be near my work. I didn't want to.
I was teaching in Henrico County, and
We
could have lived close to I taught at Hermitage High School, but wanted to be a part of the college community, and it's certainly easier and better and more conducive to being a part of everything when you're living in Ashland.
Yeah.
It was the
I
best
think our parents
decision.
thought we lost our minds though, because there wasn't much available in terms of
The rent.
Mm-hmm.
So we rented this house. It still stands on the railroad track. It has asbestos shingles. It's the closest house to the track, very close.
I mean,
It's
really
literally on
close to the
side.
track.
And I mean, when those trains came through, we had no idea there were so many trains. We saw the tracks, but we didn't realize there were 2 or 3 trains an hour coming through. And the first night, it was summer, we didn't have the air conditioning unit in the bedroom, which is right. I mean, it was like the trains would come through and the bed would literally shake. And I think both our parents thought, well, I mean, if you got all these apartments in Richmond, why in the world would you stay here? But we liked it. It was a wonderful place.
We stayed there for 4 years and then built this house, and have been here since 1974 in this house.
Our daughter was born a month after we moved in here, and now she lives in Bethesda with children.
So you would, I guess, call this a good place to raise your family, better than Richmond, or than some of the other things? Or well, I mean, do you think you made a good?
Place to raise your children. It's a real community.
And not only our own children, but now that our children have children, they come back here a lot, and our grandchildren are enjoying Ashland just as much as our children did.
They love the trains, they love the library downtown,
All the shops,
the ice cream shop,
the playground.
train shop. It's a real, they call it the center of the universe, our grandchildren.
Our little 2.5-year-old, the other day, Thomas, we were talking, and I said, now, Thomas, because we had gone into Richmond for something, I said, now we're going back, he said, we're going back to Ashland. Jay Larkin said, we're going back to Ashland, and Thomas said, yes, the center of the universe. So at 2.5, that's pretty good.
It is. So how many children do you have?
2 daughters.
2 daughters? How many grandchildren?
3
Are you
so
having
far.
Yes, we're having a good time. I mean, if you look around this room, you don't have videos, because we could give you a grand tour. That's Jay Larkin, and that's Thomas, and that's Emma Ford. And they're wonderful. Emma Ford is coming to Ashland on the 4th of May to be baptized at Duncan Memorial, which is awfully nice, too.
So do you go to church there often?
Well, we go to church there. I wouldn't say often, that's our church.
Oh, okay. Do you like it there? I
It's a
personally
wonderful
do.
church.
Yeah, it's good. Very good.
Really
It's a college, Randolph-Macon is the oldest Methodist college in the country, and so that was the reason.
I was Presbyterian. And
I was raised Christian,
so
and we
thought about
compromise and go to the Methodist church.
The college church seemed like a good place to go. So.
Okay.
Especially good education, good music, good Sunday school and all for the children, and wonderful music programs.
So have you been going there ever since you lived here?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. So where did you attend school? Did you grow up around here?
No, North Carolina. We're both from North Carolina.
I grew up in Wilson, North Carolina, went to public school in Wilson, and then went to Duke for undergraduate, and then went to the University of North Carolina to get a master's in English, where I met in the very last class for my master's, I met Ritchie.
The rest is history.
And you grew up?
In Wilmington, down on the coast, and I went to UNC all the way, undergraduate and graduate.
Right.
And then we came here. There are very few movements in my life.
Unlike people today who change jobs and move all over the place regularly, we came to Ashland, and Ritchie started teaching. Came without, and your PhD was not
3 years after I
completely finished, but
hadn't finished my dissertation. The rest of it I finished.
So when you first moved here, what would you do for fun?
Going to Richmond a lot.
we did. It's interesting. We were. I was teaching in.
A lot of our friends were living in Richmond. We were 27. So.
We went to Washington a lot.
Oh yeah, we did.
Went to theater. We took students to plays in D.C. and
we like being on this side of Richmond, even though it's a little further from home, it's closer to D.C. And I think, believe it or not, it was a little easier driving to D.C. then. I mean, the traffic.
Bad.
Man, it's so horrible now.
But we still do go to museums up there and enjoy that. But Ashland, it seems like Ashland has even more to do now than it did in terms of nightlife. When
there was no Iron Horse, no Suzanne's,
no Ashland Coffee and Tea.
There was Andy's.
There were no fast food places, if you can imagine. There was no place to buy a hamburger.
Well,
there was one place, Donna and
Vic's for ribs, which is where the Smoky Pig is now. Wasn't there kind of a Dairy Queen kind of place? I don't know, but it was really nothing. There were cow pastures, literally where the shopping centers are now. It was just open. It was very pretty coming in. When you got off the interstate, there were stations right there.
Houses.
And then the rest were big old farmhouses going on in. And so it was an entirely different looking town.
And now we have all the convenience.
So when you wanted to go to a movie, you went into town.
Well, no, the Ashland Theater was open.
Not when we got here. Then it
opened and then it closed.
Again.
So would you say that all the things that came here were good? Were you excited?
Not necessarily. Many call it the messy mile out there with all the, but it is awfully nice in terms of convenience. So you sacrifice the beauty of the trees and the nature for the congestion and the convenience. So, you can't have it both ways. And
the center of town stays pretty much the same. About the best you can do, I think. This area is very little change since we moved here.
And it's awfully nice to be able to walk to places. I mean, you can literally walk from here to the library to
when it used to snow, we would be able to walk to crosses to get our groceries, or to take, if you get cabin fever, to go down to the dime store, take the kids, everything, and then they went to school right across the street. So.
Can't beat that.
No.
Literally walk across the street.
So did y'all utilize the trains often, or you drove?
Not at first, but
well, no, we did.
There was not as much service for a while there. There were almost no trains stopping here. There were very few trains, but by the time by the late 70s, they had started.
I thought we took the train when we went to Europe for the first time. Did we take the train to New York?
No, I
think we did. I think right after we got married, we took the first time we'd ever been together to Europe.
Right.
We took the train and literally got on it here, and took the train to New York, and then I guess got a cab to the airport. I don't remember that, but anyway, we love riding the train to wherever we're going. It's a great asset.
There's a great 610 train that puts you in Penn Station in New York at 11:40. So you can, like
be there for
Friday, the morning, early, and then come back. There's a 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon train that gets you here by
9:30?
No, well, yeah,
Depends on if it's
9:30,
on
about an
time.
hour late.
But we're very concerned that CSX is going to make it more difficult to have the stop.
You heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Well, they're talking about there's another line that goes east if you're near the courthouse, and then joins into this line in Doswell down the way. And that line goes to Main Street Station, which is the one downtown on the river. And so they're talking about making high-speed. The question is how to get high-speed rail from Washington to Richmond, like they have from Washington to New York. It would be great, because the trains just poke along.
Except we don't want to lose the
But once you
passenger
get to
service.
Washington, they speed up a lot, and you go real. So they're talking about making these tracks only for freight, and then turning that thing 5 miles away into a passenger. And we're all just very upset about it because passenger trains, it's what makes the town. And a lot of college students, quite a few, we never go to New York, come home.
Yeah.
There are not 3 or 4 college students coming back
Getting off the train.
Baltimore, wherever.
And some people commute.
Philadelphia.
If you get on that 610 train, it stops, it gets to D.C. by 9 o'clock. There are people who commute on that train every day, or 3 or 4 days
Or
a
they
week.
get off at Quantico, or they get off at Alexandria.
But in this day of high prices, things like gas, I mentioned global warming, and it's a much more responsible, environmental way to
They're going to make
travel.
this decision years from now, but I think the college students are going to need ultimately to get organized, and the college to insist that we keep the passenger line coming through
there was
here.
a spokesman, I think, the provost went to a public hearing about it on Wednesday, but students ought to also be concerned, because it certainly is a quality of life issue for
How
you
many
guys.
campuses do you know that have a train station, right? I mean, there's not many.
No.
Really, I mean, not in a large city. I guess some of those campuses have subways.
Right.
But I mean, when you think about it, and you think that you literally walk to the edge of the campus, you're at the railroad station. That's
The challenge is that the Amtrak doesn't own the rails. It does in the northeast part of the country, but it has to share the rails with CSX, who owns them, and their main deal is freight and where they make their money. So we have to figure out how the government can help Amtrak to continue to thrive and survive for the common good,
I hope
which
they
is
don't
all
get
of
rid
us.
Yeah, because I do know a couple of girls who take the train, because they stay far away,
right.
so
Well,
they use
just to
the
go
train.
visit, if you all wanted to go up to the museums in D.C.,
Right.
you could easily
You
do
can
that
do
and come
that.
back that afternoon.
You can do that.
And people do it all the
And
time.
if gas goes to $5, $6, $7 a gallon, I think we may all be thinking.
Not to mention the traffic getting up there and back. It's much more relaxing. You can sit there with your laptop and do your homework and do work and then come back. Anyway, enough about that.
trains.
Although, Randolph-Macon is in Ashland because of the trains.
Right,
and
yeah.
You know that story. Good.
So, tell me a little bit about your neighborhood. Why'd you pick this place to build your house?
Well, it was
It
because
was an empty lot.
there was a house here,
It
Burton
burned
Chapman
just before we came.
house had burned
They and I
down.
talked about that fire. It was a big deal. And then the people next door bought the lot, and the Chapmans didn't want to rebuild, so they just sold this lot to the next door neighbors.
Who
And they
was the chaplain at the college,
Yeah,
Bill
Bill
Gibson and
Gibson.
his wife Virginia.
And they were going to build a pool back there, which is back there, and they decided they'd sell this lot and use the money from the sale of the lot to build their pool. So we got
They came
we
to
got
us and
first
said,
dibs
"Are
on
you
it,
interested in buying the lot?" And we said, "Yes."
because
we'd
they
love
know
to."
we wanted to live in town, and there are just not many things come up that are nice. So we jumped at the chance.
Oh, okay.
And we love this neighborhood.
It's very
Ashland is a wonderful town because there are neighborhoods, but everybody, it's real mixed up. There are
Mixed.
big old houses and little bungalows.
Demographically, racially, economically,
Yeah,
it's mixed.
which is really, we think, one of the best parts of it. It's just, you get to know lots of different people because you live all around them and you go to public school all around them and you shop and, it's just a very good place with the diversity and rich kind of environment. And that's good for children to grow up in too. You know, we have friends from all over.
So does Ashland do y'all get carnivals here or fairs or anything like that?
We have a strawberry fair every year, which is
June
on campus
7th.
after you all leave.
Yeah, if you want to come back, you're not
You'll be
far
here.
away.
Yeah, I'll be here. I think June 2nd is my first day.
That's a nice thing. Then, of course, the sesquicentennial thing's going to be a big deal, and that's going to be at the college, too, in October.
October 18th, you'll be here when that goes on. But
We just finished Garden Week.
yeah, just last Thursday on College Avenue.
Did you see all that going on?
President's Home
Big
was
deal.
included, as well as 5 other houses on College Avenue that people from all over the state, well, all over, came to tour the homes. But there's a 4th of July parade every year.
Great.
That's a Hannah
Christmas
Barton
parade?
activity.
Really?
Have you seen the Christmas
I
parade?
wasn't here for the
that's right.
Christmas parade.
They ran off making cheerleaders were in that parade.
The Ashland Christmas Parade, they call it the holiday parade. It's a Sunday before Thanksgiving, like whatever that.
It goes through the campus, I think.
It goes right in front of
I think you
Blackpool
are.
Auditorium.
I wasn't here.
What
It's
rock have
Sunday
you been
afternoon
on?
at 2 o'clock. It is a fabulous
It's
parade.
wonderful.
Small town parade, just, anything, all the Girl Scouts and the Indian princesses and the Shriners and their little things, lots of wonderful horses and clowns, and it's not commercial floats as much as just homemade chicken wire kind of things that go down the float. And we have every other year. Do you know about our Ashland Musical Variety Show?
We've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Since
It's going to be next year.
in November, it's coming March 19, 2021. And it started in 1982. Several of us were in Nancy Hugo's kitchen trying to think of a way to raise money to support the Hannah Arts and Activity Center, which is this community building on the railroad tracks that has been a community center since before
It was
we
the Baptist
came.
church to begin with. And then they built
Another
a new
Baptist
one.
church.
So this is a
But it's been
pre-Civil
here,
War building.
yeah.
The original. You've seen it, haven't you? When you're going down the tracks, just beyond the little downtown area on this side. It's set back from. It's a pretty little building, really nice.
And lots of good things. It sponsors everything from the Railroad Run to the Blue Mite Summer Festival to the Hanover Idols recently competition. And anyway, so we were trying to think of a project to raise money for it. And we had our first Ashland Musical Variety Show. This is our dog. You didn't know there was a dog on here. Don't say his name because he's quiet.
Give him no encouragement.
Yes. And if you speak his
He's
name,
absolutely
he will be in your lap and
Very
thinks he's a
much.
lap dog.
Oh, he will. He'll be all
Oh, no,
over
he's
you.
not. As long as you don't
He
have
has
to.
no idea that he's 108 pounds, and he'll just climb all up in your lap.
He's 10 years old, but he acts like he's 2. Anyway, sorry. I should have told you to follow him.
It's quite shocking. He's about the size of a cougar or a
Horse. He's bigger.
I didn't know what I touched in the middle.
That's okay. Anyway, so we have this show now every other year. We've had it 1982 and 83, and we have it every odd year since. And about 300 people usually sign up to be in the show. And then it started out, Harold Wright and I decided the numbers and sort of put people in the numbers that they choose.
Nobody is rejected.
Yeah, you don't have to have talent. It's not an audition kind of thing. But we have numbers for parents and children and the children's chorus, and we've got men in drag, and we've got women who do vamp numbers and every kind of teenage numbers, adults who tap dance, children who tap dance, lots of fun and shenanigans. And we've been doing it every other year and been very successful in bringing together the community. There's a wonderful gospel choir. We started in a singing in a rock and roll band, which we enjoy sort of. Hanover Heartthrob, which we enjoy doing, and now Lori Foley helps me. The two of us produce and direct it and have for several shows and have lots of wonderful, wonderful people who you can't imagine the people who put
It's a real
together.
community show.
Yeah. But we will be gearing up as soon as the October birthday party is over. We will be gearing up for another show, and this will be a very special one since it'll be the Ashland birthday show.
Right. So are they themed, or you just
Yeah, they're
know?
themed. Yeah.
We have everything from Ashland's Grand World Tour, Ashland's Grand American Tour. I mean, yeah, we've had everything from growing up. We have a song. I could play you a. If when we finish here, I'll play. I just made a copy of the Ashland song to send to the Today Show that we're inviting to come to the birthday party. So we're hoping that we have lots of Ashland songs. How many towns do you know that have its own song? Ashland,
New
Center of the
York,
Universe,
Chicago does, and then Ashland.
But the lines say Ashland, Virginia, USA, just a whistle on the RF&T, but you'll never find a better place to be.
That's
enough. The best people live on both sides of the track, which is awfully, true.
Cool.
Enough about the show.
Well, I might have to go to the show next year.
Oh, well, you did. March 19, 20, 21.
Is that before their break or after?
I think our break is pretty late.
They usually, is it?
No, it's right at the beginning of your break. We always have to have the show when your break begins. So you'll start, we have it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Your break starts on Friday, so you can go on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget. No, we don't call it a talent show.
Oh, the variety show.
Ashland Musical Variety Show, because they're...
Talent is no impediment to being on that show.
No.
You don't have to. We do have some
I was
people
going to say,
very
which is not to say that we don't have some serious
Then
talent
there's some people who are not very talented at all, but they just like
to carry on.
Okay. So, were you in any way involved in politics or things as far
I've
as...
been on the school board for 35 years.
In 1976, I was appointed. Has it been 37? Anyway, I was appointed to the school board by 9P, and Hanover still has an appointed school board, not an elected school board, and so I've
It's not supposed to be political, so you...
Right, it's supposed to be not political. That's the reason it's appointed.
Right.
Which is not to say that if you're involved on the school board, because the funding comes from the Board of Supervisors, like Chesterfield, where you grew up, or Henrico. So we work closely with the Board of Supervisors, at least particularly during budget time, to communicate the needs of the school system. And Hanover's Board of Supervisors has been very supportive and good about continuing to recognize the importance of funding for our school system. State funds about half our budget from Virginia, and the other half comes basically from Hanover County localities. The federal government, even though it does lots in the way of mandates and requirements, only funds about 3% of our budget.
So do you think the school's changed a lot?
Oh, yeah. How many hours do you have for that discussion? You can imagine. Because when
this was basically a rural county.
Very rural.
You joined the board, and now it's not. It's basically a suburban. So it's changed enormously.
Drastically. There were 12,000 students now. There are
2 high schools.
Yeah.
Now
Patrick Henry
4.
and Lee Davis, now 4. And just the whole, as Hanover County has grown significantly, so has the requirements and demands of the school system. And most of the changes have been very, very good. Improved, much more focused on student achievement. But always this county has been strong in its support of the arts, for example, music, art, which is awfully nice. And it still has small community, basically a small community feel in most of the schools, particularly the Ashland schools with Henry Clay and Gandy. The schools are very strongly tied to this community, and the principals know every student by name, and the teachers know everybody, and in some cases, that's the dog, sorry. We aren't growling. And he's not growling either. He just makes noises. There's a real support for those schools, even from people whose children went there long time ago. This Henry Clay used to be a high school, and a lot of our friends who grew up here went there when it was a high school, and then there was a high school built, and so during the before I went on the board, the schools were integrated, and John M. Gandy had been the African American school, and so it became Henry Clay's K2, and Gandy is 3-5, but the same children go, just move from one building to another.
Okay.
Which
So,
is nice.
for when you're talking to your friends about school, like going to school here, do they speak of the thing? Do they speak of how it was segregated, or do they ever mention maybe like controversy if there were?
I think Hanover handled the actual merging of the schools, from what I'm told, and I was not here, fairly well, with as little controversy, if you call it that,
right,
as possible, which is not to say that everybody was, I'm sure there were things that I don't know about that went
right.
on, but on the other hand, I'm sure if you talk to and interview people who grew up here, and we do have friends, we did and I served on the school board with African American friends, colleagues, school board people who from all over Hanover who came to John M. Gandy because it was the black school.
Right, yeah.
And so now it's part of our elementary school, and Earl Hunter will say to me, this is where I went to school or whatever, which is very different. But there are people and friends here who will describe in great detail the feelings of a segregated world, even though, particularly in Ashland, people lived side by side and still do. But it was segregated, as was the rest of the South, and maybe the whole country, but particularly in the South with the schools.
For I guess it's a different type of segregation, I guess. What's Ashland like when we're gone?
What do you mean?
When all the
in the summertime?
Yeah, when the
Without
students are gone?
students.
Is it different?
There's very little difference, really, because the college, you see, in a large university like Chapel Hill, where there's 30,000 students, there's as many students as there are townspeople. And when the students aren't there, boy, you can tell it. It's just easier to get into stores, but it's not so much here, because the enrollment here is what, 1,200, 1,100?
Yeah.
I think the rhythms just go right on. Although there's a lot of college here, a lot of people who live here went.
Yeah.
I know,
A lot of alumni decided to settle here. They didn't grow up here, but they went to school here, and they realized it's a nice place to raise children. And there are quite a number of my former students who live here, all around.
The librarian here
Yeah.
at the Ashland Library is one of Ritchie's English majors here, and there's a lot of our good friends who live are alumni and college connected, whether they are professors or work in an office.
I think the railroad and the college are the two big, influences on the culture of the town, and for the better, and it certainly makes the town. We were talking about politics. It certainly makes this town a much more textured part than any other part of this. This county is very conservative, as any ex-urban county is. Up there, Prince William, the further you get from the cities, the more conservative. And so when the return so many election come in, this county is way Republican. The single exception is this town, which in 4 years ago went for John Kerry by one vote. But, which suggests to me that in all the county, this is the only place there's a balance where you have liberal people, conservative people, all. Otherwise, you get out into those housing tracts, it's all very uniform. And that's what I value about being here. I value knowing that I can express an opinion, and my across the table won't agree with it because he's real conservative. But there are other people in the neighborhood who would.
Mm-hmm.
You're not by yourself out here. If you happen to be a liberal, I mean, you're not having to go around pretending like you're something else.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great thing about it. And this has become better as we've lived here. This town is much more open, much more textured than it was 30 years ago, because people move in here because they sense it's a different kind of place. They come here because
it's a college town,
it's a
Right.
college
which is wonderful.
Yeah, they
I mean,
come
how
in
many
because-
people there's symphonies and
Yeah.
there are speakers and there's just a wonderful offering if you want to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But also, as you say, it's a openness to ideas and to discussing ideas, which are good academic
I mean,
communities.
I'm not saying the town's not conservative. There are lots of conservatives here, but there are lots of people who are not. And so
A balance.
it's a balance. It's a very balanced place, which is unusual.
I guess we're spoiled because we are so used to being around people who can disagree and still be good friends.
Right.
And that's the kind of world we wanted our children, or I don't think it was quite as deliberate. It sounds like we chose to be. It sort of has, I guess, the way life is. You choose, and it's not quite that deliberate, but we're really lucky that it worked out to be in a place that our children grew up, and we've grown up, as you call it that, since we were first married, to be around people who are very different socioeconomically, politically, religiously, which is wonderful. That's what the best of America is. And I have heard, it's interesting, I have been a part of Leadership Metro Richmond, which is a Richmond-based group of bringing together a mixture of people from all over the Richmond area, and you go through a class together, and they regularly have sessions about community development and goals and diversity and race and all these kinds of things. And I've heard one speaker who speaks all the time to this group talk about and point to, and he used to live in Ashland but then moved to Richmond when he took a big job in Richmond. But I've heard him say over and over again that Ashland is the one place in the entire Richmond area where you have true diversity that thrives and enriches the living, the working, the thinking, the being together, because we do have such a mixture of people. And our show brings that all, it's fun because you can sing and dance together, but it's even more basic, as Ritchie was saying, in terms of just human dynamics. You walk your dog every day and you run into people who have very different kinds of political ideas, but there's a humanness and a commonness that is very good.
Do you think that's something that people pick up on as they come through, and that's why a lot of people
I think so.
here?
I definitely think so. I think people.
We're told that. We're told people who choose to retire here, or when they get near retirement, they want to be in a place where they can walk to the college, to things, they can walk to restaurants, to the coffee shop, whatever. It is an attraction if you like that kind of experience. If you want to live in a world where you go to work and come home and have, be around people, all of whom are pretty much.
But the proximity to Richmond, we should say, is an awful
exactly.
good thing. And one of the reasons this town can be special is that we're 15 miles from downtown, so we can enjoy our small town, privileges, and yet we're very, very close to a larger city.
And therefore we can go to plays and go to museums and all the things. But we go to the Barksdale Theater here, or Theater 4 in town. We're lucky to be able to have access to the best of all worlds. And be close to being on 95 and being able to get up and down the eastern corridor is also a true advantage. It's interesting, when we first moved here, friends would come visit, and we'd go to Williamsburg to visit, or we'd go to Monticello, or we'd go to D.C. But more and more, it's like people come and we stay here. They want to be a part of the Ashland, the greater Ashland. And when we say Ashland, we mean anything that's anywhere around here, whether it's Secretariat's birthplace, down the road here, or I don't know. There's something for everyone. We're very enthusiastic, can you tell?
Oh, yeah.
And Randolph-Macon is the only college in Hanover County, too, which is I think a real, makes it a special place for the entire county, because I think the college is good about sharing its offerings, whether it's speakers, political speakers. This year, Tim Russert is the commencement speaker. I mean, you don't get to hear, and writers, when we first came here, particularly Ritchie was in charge of the Washington Literary Society, and maybe it's because writers were a little less expensive than they are today, but we had every person that you're probably reading in your classes, many of them came to campus, and many still do, although it's a little more costly now to, I think, yes, isn't it, to bring them here. But we have enjoyed that too. You can do as much as you really want to in the way of culture.
So, what's your fondest memory, or something that's most memorable to you that's happened here in Ashland? Your favorite?
Well, the Ashland show, I would have to say, is always my favorite every 2 years, although we rehearse, but having everybody celebrate and sing and dance together and enjoy each other from the audience as well as from the show is my favorite fun event, but also the Hanover County Schools and seeing the way our students have achieved, and our educators and our superintendent. We've got the best superintendent in the country, and just people who work with him and with all the leadership in the schools. We're really lucky to have such a wonderful public school system.
What about you?
I like Halloween here. It's just wonderful.
Tell why.
This neighborhood is just great. There are all kinds of displays, and people getting their heads chopped off, and and just ghouls and things up in the trees and strobe lights. And it's just a wonderful, and all the
and
people.
tell them who you are.
I'm Superman. Which is nothing much, but the people coming from the county out in the country, because you can let the children out and they can go up and down the street.
I mean, lots.
Halloween is wonderful here.
Tell them how many we have.
Well, I don't know.
250 last year.
And they come in. This is a prime neighborhood for trick-or-treating, all in this area. And it's just wonderful. It's just like there's no better Halloween anywhere.
In the whole world. You could not find a better Halloween.
You ought to come.
I should. I missed out last year.
Well, you got to. You have to. You can't
down
say
James Street and Howard Street. This is the center of the Halloween spirit. It's just great.
I mean, the houses really get decked out. Ours isn't as much decked out as it. But I mean, music and ghosts flying and anyway.
It's a sight.
It is a sight.
Oh, that's exciting. I miss Halloween.
Well, you shouldn't miss it. You need to be a part of it.
You should come over.
I need to make you a calendar between Halloween and the Strawberry Fair and the
everything
and the parade. We got to make sure you know about these things.
Yes, that'd be great. So, do you have any closing things you want to share? Any last things you want to say?
I think we've been pretty thorough about what we like about the town.
Good friends.
Good friends.
And
college.
And we're pleased.
And we're going to retire here.
Yeah.
And
be buried here.
We're going to be buried here.
That was a big deal.
You can't get much more permanent than that.
That's right.
And we're y'all. Are you a freshman too, Brandy? It's we feel good about the college, and Ritchie's retiring, and his book just came out, and lots of good things going on. Feel good about the college, and y'all are, as freshmen, I think you've got President Lindgren and his people everything seems to be really going well, and that's good.